Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Thursday, July 11th, 2024. The fire potential impacts for the next few days continue to include significant heat, record-breaking heat for today, Friday, and even into Saturday. Although with the lightning coming in, we're focusing a little bit more on that into the weekend time period. But we do also have some gusty winds today along the Sierra Front, northwest Nevada, and up into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming. Some of those winds remain over the north on Friday. And then, of course, the moisture coming in from the north, limited moisture for generally just dry or mixed wet and dry thunderstorms starting on Friday across the far south, and then on Saturday moving a little bit further northward into Nevada and west central Utah. The past 24 hours, we didn't see really much of anything in lightning and precip. Some of these little blue blips on here are just kind of radar returns from some of the clouds in those areas. Initial attack for the last 24 hours showed 8 fires for 34 acres and large fire growth of 2,000 acres. Precipitation for the past 7 days shown on the left. We have not had any really precipitation in the last week, except for a little bit over the eastern mountains of western Wyoming. And the past 30 days have been quite dry as well across the north, Nevada, and northern Utah, where really much below precipitation has been observed. And then we did have some of the pre-monsoonal surges. It's been a couple weeks ago now across the southern Utah. Current fire danger has been on the rise under this heat dome. Many stations are above the 97th percentile across the south and west, and many more stations are approaching those levels up to the 90th to 97th percentile as well. Looking more closely at a couple of those areas here over northwest Nevada, the ERCs are at the historical maximums for the time of year and will remain elevated through the next 7 days. Across northwest Utah, those values are above the historical maximums, setting records right now. Those values will continue to increase for a few more days before coming down a bit, still remaining very high, but decreasing a bit with some higher RHs in the area. Okay, that leads us to our Great Basin Fuels and Fire Behavior Advisory that is being issued today. I don't know if the links are on at this exact moment, but later today you will be able to find those on the Great Basin website and the NIC website as well. Fuels and Fire Behavior Advisory for two main conditions. First, in this hatched red area, we're looking at well above average fine fuel loading and continuity combined with record low or near record low 100 and 1,000 hour fuel moistures because of this extended hot dry period. Further south over southern Nevada and southern and southwest Utah, we don't have excessive fine fuel loading. What we are highlighting really low live and dead fuel moistures, extreme fire behavior in some cases based off of the recent weather trends there. Okay, satellite imagery this morning is showing that high pressure area still in place over the Great Basin, bringing heat to much of the area, record heat, near record heat, to the Great Basin. We'll start to see this ridge shift a little bit further eastward, which will allow moisture to come up really starting tomorrow. So for today, the ridge still sitting over the Great Basin for very hot temperatures. As it's moved a little bit further eastward, we are setting or close to setting records or right at record temperatures for much of the Great Basin. We did remove some of the high risk for the heat on the map just because we wanted to make room for new high risk that we have for wind and lightning. So still very hot, still very dry, but we do have high risk for lightning over northwest and western Nevada and along the central Snake River Plain here for today. Closer look at the temperatures does show highs are around 104 in Boise and Salt Lake and 105 in Reno still, so very hot, very dry. And then the wind gusts here over northwest and western Nevada and along the southern central Snake River Plain here. On Friday, the ridge shifts slightly to the east, continuing to bring very warm temperatures, but also allowing a little bit more moisture into the far southern tip of the basin. We do have high risk for that lightning across far southern Utah, and then just a little bit of lightning possible over far western Nevada beginning to move in. Closer look at where that precipitation is expected is shown here. So looking at the Arizona Strip and southern Utah, the higher elevations here of southern Utah, and then a little bit over western Nevada. Gusty outflow winds are expected with any of these storms. We do have some continued gusts along the Snake River Plain on Friday as well. On Saturday, the ridge shifts a little bit further east and we'll see more moisture moving up, mainly up into southwest Utah and into Nevada. This moisture is limited. It will be high. We'll see high base thunderstorms, so gusty outflow winds with generally dry thunderstorms. You may see some of these storms producing a little bit, tiny bit of precip, but really nothing to significantly alter the fuels conditions. So we do have quite a bit of high risk on the map for Saturday. Closer look at the winds. Again, most of these winds here are gusty outflow winds, which will accompany the thunderstorms to always be aware of. And then precipitation here on the right, we can see the moisture is moving up pretty rapidly throughout much of the Great Basin, Utah, Nevada, and may see a few storms here or there in eastern Idaho. They'll be on the dry side. Again, some of these cores may produce maybe 1/10 of an inch, maybe a little bit more, but generally very dry. 3-day precip totals are shown here. Again, not looking at any significant precipitation really with any of these storms in the short term or much in the long term for that matter. Maybe some better chances of the Arizona Strip according to this model. Okay, on Sunday, the moisture continues to move northward through the basin as the ridge allows that moisture to wrap around. So we do have high risk for much of northern Utah, northern Nevada, and up into Idaho as that moisture moves up. Some of the PSAs across the south, we did indicate them going to yellow just to sort of show the change with higher relative humidities and maybe a little bit of precip, but the relief is quite tempered and short-lived. So on Monday, we don't have any high risk in for Monday. We will be watching to see how far north the moisture is going to go. Some of the models have been putting it further northward and some of them have been keeping it across the south. But we do know, especially Sunday into Monday, there's a chance for some nocturnal storms overnight in the overnight hours to be aware of. And then by Tuesday, most of the moisture is going to be limited to Utah and far eastern Nevada. So our drier air is going to start to return back to the north and the west by early in the week. But we will continue to see some storms in Utah for the midweek. And again on Wednesday, some moisture still remaining underneath that ridge. Again, this is a little bit far out, but as we get closer, we'll have a better idea of exactly where the storms will be and if any of them it may have a little bit more moisture with them, but generally a drying pattern as we head into the second half of next week. 7-day precip totals are shown here. So again, pretty spotty precip, if any, in Nevada and up into Idaho. A little bit better chance of some of a maybe close to a wetting rain over the higher elevations of Utah and up into western Wyoming and possibly the Arizona Strip as well. So, but definitely a very critical weather pattern that we're looking at coming up this weekend and into early next week with significant increase in initial attack and large fire potential. The extended forecast for July 18th through the 24th puts the heat over the northern Rockies and Idaho, northern Great Basin, pretty much the entire area, near normal precip for much of the area, but a slightly higher chance for that precip over southern and southeast Utah. That concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.